What it do, Dream Team? It's your boy Neal back with another reaction video. Guys, here we are with Did American Stereotypes Turn Out to Be Wrong? Ask a German series part 2. Feli from Germany. I'm excited to jump into this. I'm excited to know what she thought when coming over here. Did those stereotypes, were they right? Were they wrong? What we got? But before we jump into that, I need you guys to smack that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media and Patreon, all up top. You want to subscribe to any of it? Put all the links in the description. All you gotta do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me, human. I talk back. If you got a favorite video you want to see me react to, you can subscribe to Patreon or there's a Google form link in the description. What we got?
What do Germans really think of Americans? And did those assumptions actually turn out to be true when I came here?
Come on, talk to me.
Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on and off since 2016. I asked you guys on YouTube and Instagram what questions you've always wanted to ask a German, and it turns out that there are a lot of questions. In the last video of this mini-series, I talked about why we call Germany Deutschland and why our country has so many different names around the world. If you haven't seen that yet, you can just click up here to get to the whole Ask a German playlist. For today's question, I looked at the polls that you voted for on YouTube, and this one was extremely popular. Did you have any assumptions about the US before you came here that you later found were wrong? And the answer is nope. All of the stereotypes I had of the US were correct. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, that's tough. I guess it's over. I get it. Dang, all the stereotypes was right. Were they good stereotypes? No, she's probably
The stereotypes I had of the US were correct. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, no, obviously that was a joke. There definitely are things that I found to be wrong after a while. And that was actually another very popular question about what the most typical stereotypes are that Germans have of Americans. And I think it makes sense to combine these questions and tell you guys about the stereotypes first, and then about which ones I found to be complete bullshit. But before I tell you what those stereotypes are exactly, I'd like to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Babbel, or Bubble in German.
Can I get a sponsor, bro? Can I get it? I get for reaction videos. I guess it's a lot harder with can I get a sponsor?
Which is a regional dialect term for talking, by the way. Babbling in English. And that's exactly what you'll be able to do with this language learning app. You'll be able to babble in a foreign language. And knowing another language can open so many new doors. I mean, you'll be saving more than half of the price, and the best thing is they even have a 20-day money-back guarantee. Now this is actually a great transition because this is one of the prejudices that many Germans, and I think people in other parts of the world as well, have of Americans, that they don't speak any second languages, and if they do, that their language skills are rather limited. Some other things on the list are that many Americans aren't very educated, especially about the rest of the world. You might even hear people say that Americans are stupid. Regarding Germany in particular, one stereotype is definitely that they don't even know where Germany is, that they don't know the difference between Austria and Australia, or that they think that the Berlin Wall is still up or that Hitler is still alive. Then of course another stereotype is that Americans eat a lot of fast food and that a lot of them are obese and drive through a Walmart in those electric shopping carts. Another prejudice that I think especially people who've interacted with an American before have is that they're fake and superficial, especially the small talk and friendliness is often called fake.
Tough.
And then of course that Americans are obsessed with guns and that they think that they live in the best country in the world and kind of look down on other countries. Now to be completely honest with you guys, I do actually think that most of these points have some truth to them.
I was gonna say a lot of them sounded true. A lot of them sounded true. The superficial and the fake with the small talk and everything. I guess, I don't know. I don't agree with it. I just think it's friendliness because I think a lot of the times when I'm having small talk with someone, I'm not looking for, it's not benefiting me. Like, I'm not looking for anything out of it. A lot of times other people aren't looking for anything. It's not beneficial. It's just a friendly thing to do. So no, if it was superficial, I feel like it would be like one party like trying to get something out of the other person and being nice as a front to try to get that. That's just where I think on that topic. But we're gonna let her
With
talk.
you guys, I do actually think that most of these points have some truth to them. Obviously, not all Americans are fat, eat McDonald's every day, and think about the rest of the world. But compared to what it's like in Germany, you can definitely see a difference there overall. But of course, that's when you generalize it. Not every American is the same, obviously. I mean, some of the fittest and smartest people in the world are Americans. If you'd like to hear some more detailed elaborations about what I think of some of these cliches, check out this podcast episode on understanding train station that Josh and I did a few weeks ago, because we actually talked about the different cliches about Americans and Germans and what we think of them as someone who's from the country versus someone who moved there as an expat. Link is up here and in the info box below. But one thing on the list that, for me, turned out to be wrong is the one about the superficial American small talk. And
I knew it. I'll be saying that's not fake. Like, we're really just like that. We're really friendly like that. You feel me? Talk to him.
For me, it turned out to be wrong is the one about the superficial American small talk and the fake friendliness. Before I actually moved to the US for my exchange semester in 2016, I had been to the US a few times for a 2-week high school exchange when I was 16, and then twice for road trips with my family, where we went to a lot of different places in the US. Now, all of what I'm about to say is my personal experience. It could be completely different for other Germans, but the whole fake friendliness stereotype actually wasn't all that prevalent for me until I went to the US for that exchange and the vacations. That's when I started to think, okay, why are the waiters here constantly exaggerating like that? Like when they always say things like, oh my god, you're from Germany? That's so cool. I've been to Paris once and it was the time of my life. Well, good for you, and it's not that exciting to be from Germany, so calm down. I actually found it really exhausting that people always wanted to have all of this small talk and ask you all these personal questions when we both knew we'd never see each other again anyway. I mean, they didn't really care about what my plans were for after high school or what my favorite food was, so why did they pretend that it was the most interesting thing in the world? I kind of preferred people to just be real and preferred silence or even a blunt, unfriendly tone over fake interest and over the top friendliness.
That.
I know
silence and a blunt tone. I don't know. We just don't like that. Like, I prefer that friendliness. You know what I'm saying? Talk to me, because it's fun I guess it's fun talking to people. In my opinion, it's fun to talk to people. It's fun getting to know different people, even if you're not gonna see them again. It's just fun. You get to hear some cool stories sometimes, learn some new things. If you're from Germany, yeah, I'd be excited too. I'm not gonna be like, you're from Germany, like dope. Like, how is it over there? Like, no, how was it being raised over there? No, what are some of the differences that you see? I'd ask some of these questions. Like, I just really want to actually learn. But
unfriendly tone over fake interest and over the top friendliness. I know all of this sounds kind of harsh, but that's what I felt like at the time, and I know it's what a lot of other Germans think as well. By the end of the vacation, I was honestly glad to be done with all the small talk and pretending to be just as friendly and interested as the person I was talking to. Well, that changed when I actually moved here and wasn't just visiting as a tourist. I lived with Americans and had all aspects of my life take place in this country, which inevitably led to me understanding the culture more and more. I sometimes like to compare understanding a culture to understanding a language. It really takes a while to understand and interpret the culture as an outsider. It's like learning a language of customs and behavioral patterns and reading between the lines, and then eventually being able to speak that language too and communicate with those same cultural tools. And getting back to what I said earlier about language learning, of course, the better you speak the local language, the easier it'll be to pick up on those subtle nuances and hidden meanings, and realize that you can't always translate everything literally into your native language. You have to consider the cultural translation there too. So when an American says that the business presentation was okay, you most likely wouldn't translate that to okay in German, but it would probably be more like pretty bad in German. But when a German says it was okay, you might translate it to decent or even good in American English, because Americans usually try to express things a little nicer than they actually were to protect everyone's feelings, while Germans can be pretty direct, and to them, even the phrase, you can't complain about that, da kann man nicht meckern, can be a pretty big compliment. So in addition to learning a language, as in the vocab and the grammar when you live abroad, you also kind of have to learn how everyday life works in the country. How you treat each other, how you behave in business situations, how you eat, what to to respond to how are you, what's expected of you at a birthday party, and so on, which can be kind of tricky, especially when you compare one Western culture to another, because those differences can be very subtle and hard to grasp sometimes. But for me, once I was more immersed in the everyday life in the US, I started to get some of these things more and realized that the things that I used to consider fake aren't actually that fake. It's just a different way of communicating. So to get back to the initial question, after a while, I understood that people here are just more open to sharing personal stories with others, even if they hardly know them, and that many of them just really enjoy talking to strangers, even if it's just a brief conversation in the checkout line, or at a football game, or even in a parking lot. I understood that the waiter probably does think that being from Germany is really cool, but that they also exaggerate a little because they have to rely on tips so much. But most
they do, yeah. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad, you know what I'm saying? I guess it is something you have to kind of, I love what she said, you have to get used to the culture. Just like learning a new language, it's like learning a new culture. You have to kind of know, it takes time. It takes time to understand things about how they go with their way of life. And you can't just always compare the two because, you know what I'm saying? You can't always think okay in America is the same thing as okay in Germany. You know, two different cultures. Know what I'm saying? And so I love this video. I love her like for breaking it down like that because she is right on the money with that. And when she started living here, she started understanding that's just how Americans are. Like, that's just the culture. Keep it going.
It's really cool, but that they also exaggerate a little because they have to rely on tips so much. But most importantly, I understood that the message behind a lot of these things is usually real. The interest is real. The nice thought when a stranger gives me a compliment for my coat is real. I just had to learn to understand the different layers of it all and also how to respond to it, how to handle American small talk on my end. But once I did, I actually started to appreciate a lot of it and still do to this day. So long story short, I still understand why many Germans think that Americans are fake and why they prefer the German direct and honest way of handling things. So if you're one of those Germans, I totally know what you mean. But I do think that you can't really judge it until you understand the culture better. And once I understood it, I personally liked it a lot, and I even miss the American friendliness now whenever I'm in Germany. Don't get me wrong, there are still situations sometimes where the German in me feels like the other person is being pretty fake, and this conversation is super unnecessary, but that's really the exception. Most of the time, I genuinely enjoy talking to strangers now and just making each other stay better by being friendly to each other, and maybe telling a stranger that you like their sweater, or having a fun conversation about the new Taylor Swift album with the waitress. These conversations are a lot less binding than they would be in Germany. They're just casual little interactions that make life a little better, but that doesn't make them straight up fake. As you can probably tell, I could keep rambling about this forever, but I actually wanted to mention a second assumption that I had and that turned out to be wrong. This is something that I didn't mention in my stereotype list from earlier because I'm not quite sure if this is a super common stereotype, but I think just based off American high school movies and things like that, I always thought that Americans are a little more judgy and cliquey than Germans. You know, that the athletes only talk to other athletes, and that there's a lot of pressure here to have these perfect white teeth that everyone has, and that people judge each other for their appearance. But my personal experience...
I think certain people are judgy. I guess you can't really say a whole country, all the people in the country are judgy. There's a good number that are judgy, but I don't think it's not cliquey like that. Like athletes only hang with athletes. I think everybody has their group of friends. You know what I'm saying? But when I was in high school, I was an athlete, and I would talk to anybody and everybody who talked to me. Like a lot of my friends were not athletes. You know what I'm saying? You just because. I don't know. That's really limited. I don't even know how it started like that in movies where they just clicked up like that. Like, I don't know why they do that, but that's unrealistic compared to, I guess, actual high school life. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, you're more likely to be friends. If you're an athlete, you're more likely to be friends with other athletes, especially teammates. Whatever sport you're playing, you're more likely to be friends with your teammates because you spend a lot more time around them. But that doesn't mean that you close off like to every other friend group and you're judging every other social group in the school or everybody else in the school. You're very open to making new friends. But I'm sorry. Keep it going.
Everyone has, and that people judge each other for their appearance. But my personal experience here in Ohio, in the Midwest, is actually almost the exact opposite. I quickly realized that Germans are actually a lot more judgy than the people I met here, and that the whole concept of Leben und Leben lassen, so minding your own business, is much more prevalent here. Maybe that's just the bubble that I found myself in here, but whether it was at college or in my friend groups, I was surprised to find a very accepting environment from the beginning. I hardly ever hear anyone talk bad about someone else's appearance, and even fat shaming is something that I don't think I've experienced so far. I mean, I'm sure it does exist, but in my experience, it happens a lot less here than it does in Germany. In fact, I did experience that kind of behavior sometimes, but that was always when I was in groups with lots of Germans and other Europeans. But with Americans, at least here in the Midwest, I'm sure it's different in other places, I never worry about being judged for the way I dress, for example. Like, I could go to the grocery store in my pajamas right now and it would be fine.
Oh, yeah.
And I know this because people actually do that. And you know what? It's rubbed off on me too, which I really like, because in Munich, I would have thought to myself, oh my god, what is this person in the pajamas doing at the store? But here, I don't even think about it, and I think that's how it should be. Also, when I first came here, I was surprised that in my college classes, the athletes and the nerds and the cheerleaders and the weird new girl from Germany all got along for the group projects, and that everyone always tried to respectfully communicate with each other and actually work as a team. Now, maybe I'm exaggerating a little, but since I expected something pretty different, that really impressed me. And one thing that I love the most about all of this is that it's so incredibly easy to combine friend groups here. Back in Germany, for let's say a birthday party or a birthday dinner, I would always have to make sure to kind of get the different friend groups to talk to each other or initiate some kinds of conversations for them. Or some people also have different parties for different friend groups for that reason. But ever since I came to Cincinnati, that has never been an issue. Even if it's the two most different people in the world, Americans seem to always find something to talk about or something they have in common, and even appreciate each other for having different interests. Not so much when it comes to politics. That's something that we should never talk to each other again in this country. But when it comes to music or hobbies, sports, jobs, and those kinds of things, I just love how open-minded many Americans are. There have been so many times when two people who never met each other before just bonded over a topic, and where it feels like a group of people that didn't really know each other before has an amazing time together. While in Germany, everyone would probably just talk to the person they came with. I've also been on more than one group vacation here where some of the people had never met each other until that first vacation day, but you usually don't have to worry about it. To kind of come full circle here, I think that this also goes back to the whole small talk topic I talked about earlier, and also to the fact that Americans are just a little more individualistic than Germans and don't judge each other as much for standing out or for being different. Okay, I don't think I managed to keep this video under 10 minutes yet again. I'm just gonna try and do better next time. Again, please remember that these are my personal experiences and that everyone has different experiences with these topics, so it's really hard to generalize any of it. If you would like to share your stories and opinions, please feel free to do so in the comments below. The next Ask a German video will be out in a couple days, so 2 or 3 days, I'm not quite sure yet. Until then, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so that you actually get notified once the new video is out, since I'm not quite sure when that will be. And I hope I'll see you then. Tschüss!
Bro, she's literally awesome, bro. I love her channel. She's literally like super awesome. You can tell she's very upbeat. You can tell she's very friendly, and she's non-judgy, and she just seems like a very cool person, and I love that. But yeah, she's right. A lot of those stereotypes, you know what I'm saying, that she was talking about their German time, they are true. Like out of those points, they are true. But some of those points, yeah, where the friendliness, I don't think it's fake. I think it's like genuine. Like that's how we act. Like. We're friendly. We want to know what we want to know about people. We talk to strangers, and that's fun. Like make each other's day better, make someone smile, give them a compliment. We like doing that stuff. And then the clickiness. Yeah, like I guess you got to store in your pajamas. You're not really worried about what other people think about you, and a lot of people are not thinking about you anyway. Like they're there to get what they need to get, and they're more worried about what's going on with them than what you're wearing or your appearance. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like everybody has their own things, and they're more focused on their own things than judging other people for their things. Now, don't get me wrong, there are judgy people, of course. 100% there are judgy people. But a lot of people have so much going on in their lives, they don't have time to worry about other people. You feel me? But that's all we got for this one. You guys got a favorite video, anything you want to share, hear me react to, you can subscribe to Patreon, leave a suggestion, or in the description section there's a Google form link. Hit the link, fill out your suggestion, send it to me. Want me to get to yours faster than others, fill out premium. Make sure you hit subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media, Patreon, all up top. You haven't subscribed to any of it, put all the links in the description. All you gotta do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me. Love talking to you guys. You guys are the most incredible team on YouTube. It's your boy Neal. Out.